I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight.
This is a really perplexing question. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Reverend Jim Keat, the digital minister at the Riverside Church, director of online innovation at Convergence. This is the update. This is a new project, experiment, thing I'm trying. A monthly-ish conversation with digital ministry leaders from all across the country, maybe around the world if I can get some of my Australian friends to agree to a time zone. And we're going to give updates on things we've been learning, noticing, discovering in our corners of digital ministry, stuff that's worked, stuff that hasn't worked, what's sticking to the wall, what's fallen down. That's a spaghetti metaphor, by the way. And where's this whole thing going? Because we can't just think that we can do it all alone or have all the answers ourselves. And if you think so, you're wrong. So today, I'm joined by two fantastic digital ministers, Reverend Bethany. Reverend Bethany Peerbolte is your full name, but we all just know you as Rev Bethany. If you're not following her on TikTok, that's your first homework assignment. And Reverend Jerry Maynard. Good to see you both. So today we are at the end of one year, and we're about to, peer around the corner and step into the beginning of another. So I just want, the three of us are going to discern all the wisdom in the universe. No pressure, the three of us. What sort of trends or just signals in the noise have we kind of noticed in the world of digital ministry from the year behind us, 2022? And digital ministry, for all of us watching, participating, can mean, ask actual things you do ministerially in a church space, or the various things that make digital ministry work, the platforms, the online spaces, the technology. What are the trends, the signals, the things that we've seen from the past year, and then what do we anticipate would be those things in the upcoming year? So we can predict it, and then a year from now we'll come back and watch and see if our prediction was accurate.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so no pressure. So looking back, I think I have half an idea, but I'm eager to just hear from both of you as well too, if you have something formulated that you're ready to share.
I feel like I have just hinted at this new digital community. Tapestry has kind of been going, but not I haven't been pushing it because it was my hobby and I didn't want it to get too out of hand. But I've hinted that this is now going to be a thing on TikTok, and the number of people who are like, "Yep, I'm in. Let's go right away." And I was like, the first time I came out with this, it was a pitch. It was a can we meet? Can we do this? Is it possible? And now people are like, yeah, I'm in, sign me up. When do we meet? What's going on? So I feel like the idea of it is at least a little bit more accessible, or people can kind of grasp it a little bit more, so that now when I say it's happening, they're like, okay, let's see what is going on, not just, what are you doing?
What do you think that is? Do you think it's just that they've heard you talking about Tapestry? Is it that people are more kind of aware of the need for digital community, online community spaces? What's caused it to go from a hard sell pitch to a yep, I'm in kind of a shift?
I think there are more people who are in digital friend circles or circles of some kind, and now they've also woven that into their in-person daily lives. There was a time when we didn't have many digital relationships. Then there was a time it's all we had. And now we've kind of gone into this okay, there are places for me to have these friends that I play video games with or chat with in chat boxes. And then there are the friends that I go out with on a Friday night. And to see how that works together, people are now a little bit more accessible or willing to be like, oh, I see how that fits into my life.
Which makes sense, even just thinking of the trajectory we've all been on as a culture and society. If 2020 was the year we were all pushed into online only, and 2021 was the year when people were like, okay, I'm over that. I'm ready to get back to, the way things used to be.
Right.
Which obviously led to Omicron and all sorts of stuff. And then 2022, this past year, was kind of when we realized that hybridity of how we have to live. What does it mean to actually hold those in a healthy balance and tension in the relationship?
The Zoom fatigue has kind of evened out. We're not on Zoom all the time, so a couple Zoom meetings, we're like, okay, I could do that. That's okay.
I missed this thing. Oh yeah, that was fun. I know how to raise my hand. Ooh, they animated the reactions now. That's exciting.
Yes.
I like that. I like that. That's a good observation. That's hopeful for anyone who's thinking about leaning into digital community spaces and just leaning into that, what you've learned there. Jerry, any thoughts on any of that from Bethany, or just let's lean into what you've noticed this past year?
Yeah, well, I definitely think that there's a really a more of a consciousness around this interplay of relationships between relationships that are online versus relationships that are in person, and beginning to recognize that there's a lot of realness to both of those types of relationships, and that we don't have to have this silly binary of like these are only people who are online and only people who are in person, and we privilege one type of relationship over the other and just merely kind of tolerate the other relationship, because it's kind of a little distant and a little aloof and kind of like we really don't fully understand what it is. But I think more people are kind of like saying, no, this is like an interplay, right, of these two realities. So I've noticed that one of the things I also noticed as well is that when we were all doing everything online, one of the things that arose out of that was our human need for connection. And that was our desire when we were going to all these online events, is that we wanted to connect with people because we were longing for that connection that we had prior to the pandemic. But I think what happened going into 2021 was I know that I discovered that this desire for connection was never fully fulfilled because what we got was interaction. And I don't think that that's the same thing. I think connection and interaction are two very different things. Connection allows us to be fully alive with one another in a way that allows us to experience our humanness at really deep levels. Interaction is merely just another form of transaction. Another like, here's an opportunity for you to say your part, and here's an opportunity for me to say my part, and blah, blah, blah. And there's always this space in between us, and it's never really fully a connection. And I think that's one of the reasons why during the pandemic and when I started to notice this, I really tried to make opportunities to make it clear to people that this is a way to connect with me, and you can connect with me in the way that is best for you and for myself. So if we are going to be on a Zoom meeting, yeah, that's cool. But also, if you're hungry, eat during the meeting. Like even if it's a worship service, or like if you're thirsty and we're in the midst of like a meeting or whatever, go and get you something to drink. Like you don't cease to be a human just because you are online. And we don't cease to lose our humanity just because we're online together. And so this distinction I discovered of connection versus interaction, I think it's something really interesting, especially as digital ministers, to play with that and see where we can fill in a little grace in the midst of that.
How do we? What are the ways we can make sure we're prioritizing or leaning into connection and not just, especially how you describe it as transactional, that interaction? Because I feel like online spaces, the internet has been, reinvented by capitalism, so it feels like it is filled with interaction, so often masked as connection. So how do we do this thing you described? That sounds hard but necessary.
I have personally found it helpful in creating more connected relationships by being more clear with boundaries. I think that digital relationships, for a lot of people, they assume that because it's a digital relationship, how can I say it? The things that we would not do in person are suddenly okay to do online. So talking over people is okay. Saying something that's on your mind, even if it's kind of a little mean, is suddenly okay. Like, no, just because you're behind a keyboard and a screen doesn't mean that niceness and generosity and compassion cease to be a thing. Because you would never do something like that in person. And if you do, you're a terrible person. But I think making it clear that, this is a sacred space and a sacred moment, even just as much as it would be sacred and special in person, so too that sacredness is still there. All of these different little data bytes and electronic charges that are taking place to make this happen is a really sacred creative energy that's still a part of the divine energy that flows through the universe. So, holding ourselves and others to those boundaries and saying, no, we're not just on a screen. We are in a sacred container where something beautiful can happen. So let's tune into that. Let's have that be our intention. Does that answer your question?
I mean, it opens up 1,000 more, but yes. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I mean, it makes me think that the distinction between connection and interaction is not unique to online spaces or digital ministry. It's also very true in physical, in fleshed spaces. I guess we're in flesh, even if we're online, on-site spaces. But it might be easier to default to one over the other in certain contexts. And the online, like you're saying, hiding behind a keyboard makes it easy to feel like, this doesn't hurt when I say this because I don't see your reaction, or I can just say it, hit enter, and be done. And it's like, well, that's still a human being who's receiving those words, and that's going to do something to them. Yeah,
I think it gets at one of the big differences I see is churches using the internet as their billboard versus like ministry. If you're not getting the feedback, if you're not understanding the stories and hearing what people are dealing with in their lives, and you're pushing out content, that's one thing. But that connection thing, if you can keep that in your mind, it's not just me preaching online, but it's also sitting and listening to the stories, figuring out what the hurts they're going through in their lives, and making sure that connection is happening and not just spewing that way, but also receiving.
That resonates with me. Just in my context at Riverside, I'm doing a lot of thinking now on what is digital ministry and what isn't digital ministry, in the sense of I also work within Riverside's communications department. So like, what is communications work and what is digital ministry work? And I'm finding myself in some meetings and I'm like, oh, I'm wearing two hats right now. These aren't the same thing. They're very distinct. Like, how do we invite people to engage and participate in this event that's primarily an in-person activity, but they're going to be online? What do we need to be aware of for where the cameras are and who's leading it, and are there awareness for that? And how does this activity translate? And then I go to, okay, what's the logo and branding for this event, and how are we including it in an email campaign? Like, those are not the same thing. One of those is very much just, I want you to know the information, and one is I'm interested in the connectedness that we're sharing in that space. So I find that helpful to even like dissect it to figure that out in my own, this is good therapy. So thank you.
That's what the update is. It's just going to be one of us every week.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Okay. My corner of the world, I'm kind of cheating because my thing I'm noticing from the past year, I think also leans into an anticipation of the coming year. But I think it's the continuation of videos being filmed this way. I mean, I know that's nothing new. It is because, if you do any filmmaking, like they tell you hold the camera this way, and to do this is this weird thing you do on rare occasions. And, because part of it's our eyes see things this way. But, now we're subverting our evolutionary biology and we're filming things vertical. So I think it's been an interesting trend, the way TikTok obviously is doing a whole lot of connecting and interacting with the world. Instagram Reels, we've all seen. My wife is not on TikTok, but she's on Facebook, so she sees Facebook Reels, and so she's always like quoting or singing the trends that are on Facebook Reels, which usually is like 3 to 6 months after they've been on TikTok, and I'm like, that's so long ago.
I just got that out of my head. Stop.
Lately, it's the oh no, no, and I was like, no. So, and then obviously YouTube Shorts, none of this is new of the past year, but I feel like the past years when we've seen everyone go all in on vertical, which might just be Zuckerberg and YouTube's, trying to gain some of TikTok's market share there. So I think it's an interesting trend. And I'm interested in where it's going to lead. This is my cheating and looking ahead. YouTube's creator economy, they are unveiling it for shorts, and it's the better model compared to TikTok's, where TikTok, you all share the same lump sum. So the more people are on TikTok, the less valuable your TikTok payment becomes. But on YouTube, it's a profit share of the ad revenue. So they're doing a similar process for what they've already been doing for a decade or more with YouTube, which has built a creator economy. So I'm interested to see who ends up winning in that sense, of which platform becomes the space, which for me, and this is where I don't know, which one becomes the space where the people creating the content go. YouTube seems to be incentivizing that. And then which one is the space where the people, engaging with the content go to watch it? And it seems like TikTok has been winning at that, and the saturation of Facebook in our lives with Facebook and Instagram Reels means Reels is winning. YouTube Shorts, I think, has the long game going for them, but I don't yet see them doing it in the short term. At least that's my experience of it. So that's a whole lot of observation from the past and slightly peeking ahead already. But I'd love to hear the two of your thoughts on that.
That's like chicken and the egg. Like, does viewership drive the platform popularity, or if all the creators are creating somewhere else, are you going to follow your creators?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
This is a really perplexing question. Yeah.
These are ironically the things I think about when I'm going on a long run. Just like, short-form video platforms. Which one is going to...
Well, and the other thing I think is interesting is this both sides of the camera at the same time.
Oh, yeah, with Be Real and
so
TikTok
it
now
starts
and
with Be
that.
Real, but like TikTok is starting to get into that too, and saying like, here, if you want to see what this person posted, you have to also do a post or whatever that new thing is that I keep just scrolling by because I don't understand it yet. But that's really interesting. For the most part, I like that ideal of the both sides. Like, here's me and here's what I'm experiencing. And I think that can create a lot of connection with people, going back and forth with that. But I know the Be Real can be a bit invasive, I felt like. I didn't really last that long because I was like, you want me to do what right now? No, thank you. So I don't know what's going to happen with that.
I like that observation connected to what Jerry was saying about the whole connection versus interaction, and even the distinction in how TikTok is obviously copying Be Real's format, but they're changing it. Like, you have more than just that moment in time. Be Real, unless they've changed it, was like literally everyone in the world. This is the moment. Maybe it's changed by time zone.
But you can. Well,
but TikTok now it lets you do it whenever. Like,
I can make behind me look really nice, but if I got to clean my whole house to post something, like, maybe we'll start to be a bit more real and be like, I am sitting here, looking at a really boring lecture. That's part of life.
Wait, is this the boring lecture you're looking at? What are you talking about right now?
I'm not looking at anything.
Well, you're both up on my TikTok now, so...
Okay, there it
is.
I'll have to go and play. I literally have been scrolling by it, just like, I don't need another thing to learn right now. Scroll.
Oh, there's so many things. Instagram's little whatever Instagram posts, or what is that called? It's like our AIM status updates from back in the day.
Oh, I hate that. I hate it already. I'm not for it. I'm not for it. That's how I feel, Bethany, about a lot of these kinds of things, and I don't know what it is, because I'm definitely millennial, but maybe maybe I'm old enough to have a different consciousness around some of these things. But like, whenever these new little things happen, my brain kind of starts hurting because I'm like, wait, what does this mean? What's the thought process behind this? Maybe I'm too linear or too literal or whatever, but like when that thing popped up on Instagram, I was like, this is rude. I did not get a notification on this. Nobody prepared me. It's like, no, thank you. Absolutely not. but along that line too of like B-roll and like content and creating, I have this mantra that I recite to myself whenever I'm like about to make a video or something. It's like, I am not a televangelist. And that's a really big distinction for me, is that I'm not here to promote myself in order to get you to follow me because I'm like the next best thing since Billy Graham, because I'm not. I don't take myself anywhere near that seriously. And I think that for me is something that I really try to keep grounded on, because that is the intention that I oftentimes look for when I'm looking for creators that I want to follow, because I relate to that. It makes me feel more real. It makes me feel more seen, more human, and I think that's the difference between communications and ministry. Is that when people watch your content, they feel more connected. You know, Anselm said, "The glory of God as a human being fully alive." So if a TikTok can make you become more fully alive, I think that's ministry.
Amen.
Look at this. This is hopefully therapy to more than just me, but I'm loving this. This is great.
That's so interesting. So I was talking with someone recently, people ask, how do you end up in Denver? And of course it ends up having to talk about politics and, church, and because that's my job. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, it's so great that you're doing ministry in a way that isn't about changing people's hearts or winning people for Christ, part of me's like, but the way that people evangelize is super hurtful, and the way that most people are experiencing that. And so I'm like, but I am kind of like, I want people to know that God loves them, and I would love for them to use, Jesus' example as their savior, and that's absolutely what I am doing. But if I don't get that, or if I meet someone whose idea of God is so tattered and torn and just stained, to be like, okay, well, let's not use the word God anymore. Let's go the other way. Just to have that option, people are like, oh, that's not evangelizing. And I'm like, except it is, but okay, yeah. It's just so interesting just having that option and not having that as your core changes everything. So yeah, it's not about what I'm saying, it's about what it does for you on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's beautiful. Okay, let's look ahead quickly to the upcoming year, and give us the glimpse of where we think things might be going. What this is where I'm probably gonna watch this video at the end of 2023 to see if we were right. But what are
do you realize how dangerous this is? The solstice. We are recording this on the solstice. So whatever our intentions are, we be careful, guys.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
We're doing magic right now.
I told my 2-year-old that today's full of magic, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Okay, what do you think is coming? I'll go first, since I have an idea, and then I want to hear from all of us, though. I think that churches hiring digital ministers is going to be a thing that is no longer a, should we do that? Can we do that? But people are going to do it. And I feel that's the case because I've talked to a bunch of churches that are doing this. They've been asking, how do we go about doing this? What does the role need to be? Here's what we're thinking. So I know a handful of communities, small and some really big ones, who are taking this seriously and investing their budget and their infrastructure to actually hire someone. I mean, Bethany, you are proof of this too, just with your role starting when it did at the end of the year and really leaning into a new endeavor in digital ministry. I think this is going to be a thing that's less of a, can we, should we, is this just a fad? This is going away, right? And more of a, oh, we need this. This is a priority to just have that connection between our congregation, wherever they find themselves, and how they're connecting with us in these online ways. So that's my thought. I mean, I think there's been the Nathan Webbs of the world who've been doing an online church, Checkpoint Church and all stuff. Jerry, you've been doing this stuff for a long time. Bethany, you kind of just stumbled into it as a hobby that turned into this is a thing. I made a hard pitch to Riverside in 2019 to be a digital minister before the pandemic, and it was like, oh, that was a decent idea. But I think now we're seeing it happen more intentionally and at a greater scale. So I think a year from now, there will be a whole lot of people in a whole lot of churches who have the title digital minister, online pastor, virtual pastor, whatever the language is, but we're going to be, our circle's going to grow, which is exciting for me to get to hang out with some more people who are thinking about this work. So that's what I think.
claim it. I'm available for hire. In Jesus' name. And every other deity. I just need some fairy dust, and then it's going to happen.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the two of you?
I
When you
even
look
think
ahead,
like
what do you
maybe
see?
it's mid-council is the place where some of that digital leadership needs to come. Like I was talking with the exec of the Synod of the Covenant, and he was like, we can now do things as a synod, which is like, no one's going to come to a synod gathering every single month, but if it's online, we can offer all sorts of teachings and trainings and catch-ups and whatevers. And so I really hope, at least for those of us that have denominations with mid-councils, that the mid-councils really go, like, this is something we can really create resources and help for our smaller churches. We can create videos for confirmation, for youth to watch when there's just one or two in the church. Like that, I think, is where I think digital ministry can really just go wild to be a resource for smaller churches.
I love that. Is that your crystal ball winter solstice trend, or is that you just responding to mine?
I'll respond to yours. That'll be my response to yours. I don't know if I want to claim that as my.
Okay, what do you think? What do you see coming then, Bethany? When you get to a year from now, what's going to be the thing where like, oh yeah, Bethany was right. That thing she said on that video on the winter solstice totally was the thing we're all into. She is the new CEO of Twitter. That's right.
No, I don't think I have that dream. I really hope that this year the conversation becomes more balanced. I really hope that we can have a fuller conversation about theology, about the teachings of Jesus, about sexuality, about, I just want us to be able to be more communicative. And I think the digital ministry is a place where we can do that, because someone can watch a video, they can turn it off, they can fume, they can come back to it, they can, it's a place where a really easy, accessible, safe way to engage in new ideas. And so I hope that we can have some of these fuller conversations and heal some of the separations that we've had over the last few decades.
We'll all claim that one. And on the internet, you think that's going to happen on the internet? Okay, we need that. Yeah.
With great responsibility.
Yep.
And great power.
Jerry, what about you? What do you see when you look into your winter solstice crystal ball? What trends are you anticipating? What signals in the noise of the upcoming year do you think the world of digital ministry will be engaging or trying out?
Well, I am actively, I was joking in the beginning, but I have learned recently never to joke with the universe, because you actually might get what you say. So I'm actually actively claiming that I will, in 2023, have a digital pastor or some type of position in that regard. So it's going to happen in some way, shape, or form. And I am grateful in advance for that. Meister Eckhart said, God, I pray you rid me of God. So if I was to rephrase that, I would say, Church, I pray you rid me of church. I think in 2023, our pastoral care models and things like that are going to be changed and are going to be a lot more playful and subversive. And I think that a lot of the wounding that has happened in American Christianity will begin to be healed and reconciled through the use of digital ministry and digital platforms. And as I said in one of your videos, Jim, I think that digital ministry is about democratizing a sense of the sacred. And that I think in 2023 and beyond, that's what's going to happen. And it's particularly going to happen through our methods of pastoral care and counseling.
Jerry, as always, brilliant and, That's why we need a digital pulpit for you all the time, just to hear this kind of stuff more often.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, Jason Moore. Hi, Jason.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
We can. So with your magical Santa hat on, what have you noticed in the past year? And you can't just say your book, because that is a thing we've all noticed. But what have you noticed, and then what are you anticipating in the year to come?
Well, I'm not pretentious enough to say that it was my book. That's definitely not. I think one of the things, a few observations for me that I think have just been very interesting. Number one is that I think that hybrid ministry or online ministry has been this unexpected gift for some churches that believed that believed the online portion of what we do was just to get us through a pandemic. And a lot of folks are seeing the benefit now of it beyond the pandemic. And so for me, that's been kind of exciting to see folks have that aha moment. And I think one of the most surprising things for a lot of folks is that our hybrid worship or hybrid ministry is actually bringing people to the building. I have had so many of the people, I lead monthly cohort calls around hybrid, and up to 18 of those a month, depending on the month. And thankfully at the end of the year here, we're wrapping everything up. But I've had so many leaders tell me that when I say, how many of you have had people come to the building as a result of your online ministry, the hands always go up. And I think it was a major surprise for some folks. In fact, a lot of people resisted online because they said, if we go online, people will just stay home. And I think the reality is a lot of people are migrating to the building, but like I wrote about in both online is like the taster spoon for in-person worship. Like, I'm going to try you out. I'm going to decide if I want to invest in the whole cone, and then I'm going to come in person. So that one has been pretty interesting to me. Second thing that I think is maybe another aha moment is that it's not necessarily the young people that are the ones that are the most excited about our hybrid, immersion over this last couple of years. I've had so many people tell me that it's their retired age people, their homebound folks that feel so cared for and so valued because of online ministry. And they've gotten to participate in a way that has enhanced the experience from what it used to be. We might have printed a sermon and put it in the mail or burn a DVD or something old school like that. And now they get to be participants. That I talk a lot about the idea of not being watchers of worship online, but worshipers online, not viewers, but participants. And I think we can now allow people to truly participate. And I guess that's the third thing, is that I have seen a lot of churches move from what I would call a monologue to a dialogue, and really leaving room in their worship experience. What I'm seeing, the trends that I'm seeing, one of the trends I don't like that I'm seeing that I'm really trying to shake people out of is this idea that we bookend our participation or our acknowledgement of online folks. So we say hi to them at the beginning and we say goodbye to them at the end, and then we don't talk to them in the middle. And so it's like, how do we include them in prayer? How do we include them in our rites and rituals when we do communion, or when we, some churches like to share, joys and concerns, that kind of thing. Offering, when we're taking offering, let's invite people online to give at the same time the people in the room are giving, and all those things. And for the churches that are leaning into this idea of dialogue, it's creating such a rich experience of worship. And I believe the people in the room benefit from the dialogue that happens with the people not in the room, because they feel their presence even though they're not physically in the space. So it's not that online only benefits the people that are online, but it benefits the people that are in the room as well. And so maybe that was too much. I don't know. I didn't get to be a part of the rest of the discussion.
That was beautiful.
You're going to have to, whenever I get this online, you're going to watch the whole thing and realize, like, whoa, we're all on the same wavelength. I'm hearing, like, echoes of Jerry. He was talking about the difference between interaction and connection, and how interaction can just be transactional, but connection offers this, emotional human relationship. And we're all swimming. Bethany was talking about people are interested for an online community. They don't need the hard sell, the hard pitch. And okay, but give us your crystal ball. What's coming up? What do you think is going to be the the thing in the upcoming year? You know,
You know,
is Twitter going to be cool again? What's it going to be?
I don't know. I think Twitter may need to die and be resurrected as something different. We'll have to see what happens there. But you know, I really I know that there are a few kind of fledgling people playing around in the metaverse and doing some things there, and it certainly seems like there's something to that. In 2020, I think it was, my wife bought me a VR headset, and you know, I got into it for a while and played around. I haven't spent a lot of time in virtual church or anything like that, but the connections that you can make with people are very real. And I write about in my book. I'm not a huge fan of the term virtual worship because I think worship online is actual worship. It's not virtual. It's not simulated. It's not fake. But the connection might be digital. And I think that we can make real relationships happen in that way. And so with the democratization of that technology and the fact that it's now affordable and you don't have to spend $1,000 to get on virtual reality headset and those kind of things, it seems like something's got to happen there. So I would guess that we'll see a little bit more pushing into that front over the course of the next year.
The next year, I was not thinking next year, but if it's next year, I gotta get that thing out more. Maybe the next update we need to do in the
there
Metaverse.
On the shelf.
I know, mine's
worn
right
it
over there.
Yeah.
Well, I was just asked to speak at my, a conference in the Metaverse in February. So first time that's ever happened, and
Wow.
you know, I don't know
That's
exactly
cool.
what that's going to be like, but
Make sure that avatar is up and ready to go.
There you go. Yeah, I can't find a hat like this in the Metaverse.
You'll have to design it. You'll have to get
There you go. So.
All right. Well, we could probably chat for another hour because this is the world we all live in and love. I love finding other people who are swimming in the same water and drinking the same Kool-Aid, and we can do this again. So what that means is we'll just do this again, and maybe we'll have a few others join us. Maybe a few others won't. We'll just make this a thing. So to everyone watching, thanks for watching to the very end of the video. What else have you noticed? What are your trends from the past, things you're anticipating in the future? Comment all the stuff we do. You're not just interacting. It's not transactional. It's a connection. So
we're gonna read it. We're it's gonna impact how we work. So yeah.
And Bethany, Jerry, Jason, thank you for hanging out on a random Wednesday night, wearing Christmas hats and, you know, summoning all the solstice magic and all the goodness that came with it. This is a blast, and I am grateful for each of you and all the fantastic work you're doing in corners of the world and World Wide Web and Metaverse and whatever other things I need to add to that list. So keep it up. Love it.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Jim.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.